Hey friends, it's a beautiful morning here at Groovy Plants. And today I thought it would be fun to take you on a walk through the gardens here at Groovy Plants Ranch. They're looking amazing, and this gives me a chance to capture everything for the future. I thought it'd be fun to just take a look at some of my favorite plants. I can show you my personal gardens. There's some great plants here that you don't get to see every time you visit just because they're at my home. I live here on the property. So let's take a little bit longer of a walk today. If you're watching this on Instagram, maybe shuffle over to YouTube where the full video will be, because I think we're gonna run over 15 minutes. Anyway, grab your coffee or tea. Let's go look at the gardens here at Groovy Plants Ranch here in late July. So kicking things off here, we're gonna look at the rock garden up front here at Groovy Plants. And as you can see, we still have some poppies blooming, and the coneflowers are looking great. We're in full coneflower season right now. Late, high summer is the time for them to shine. You can see my old agaves. I've had this one probably over 10 years. These do come in every year. I put them in a cold greenhouse, about 35 degrees, just so they don't freeze. We get asked a lot if these are just growing in the ground, but they're actually sunken in pots. So they're in a pot that is in a pot. So there's a buried pot that stays there year round, and then they drop right into it. Euphorbia is looking good. It's Euphorbia Bonfire. It's a really nice one. And here's one of my agaves that finally bloomed. I got this plant when I was 18. So 15 years later, it finally bloomed, and it will die after blooming, unfortunately, but you can see here on the stem, these are what we call propagules, and every one of these will become a new plant. So I'll have no shortage of agave, Vilmonaria, I believe the species on that. Here's a large prickly pear. We were able to actually hybridize this when it was blooming. Who knows if the hybrid will take, but we crossed this with a pink flowering prickly pear, hardy prickly pear in our landscape. So that'll be fun to see if anything takes there. Number of small creeping plants here. Sedum Atlantis, blooming, looking good. This is just a great little berm garden. This is about 8 inches of pea gravel on top of a mound of soil. That's Agave Mediopita, Mediopita alba. These euphorbias are looking really good right now. Here we move over to the other side. And the star of the show here, well, for one, this is a really nice old yucca, unusual variety, but Nymphophia caulescens, and I can't really show you how big this plant is for scale. It's been here for probably 3 years. That's one you never see in gardens. Still has not bloomed for me, but a very cool plant. And down here, the silver plant, this is Cecily gamifera, the moon carrot. It is a true biennial, and it is probably not going to bloom this year. And then mixed in, we have California poppies, which have not opened for the day. Various perennials, Russian sage, an amazing pollinator plant, and just crazy heat tolerant. In the back here, this funky looking plant, that's rattlesnake master, Eryngium yuccifolium. Here's a Yucca Piccata. That's one you don't see very often, probably 8-year-old plant. And these Coreopsis, they'll be opening more soon, but what a great plant. Growing in pure gravel, that's a tough little plant. And here we have our hibiscus covered in passion flower vine, and the hibiscus are just opening for the day as well. Back here, a really, really nice Echinacea. And more giant prickly pear. That one had a lot of nice flowers this year. Hopefully we'll get some good seed. Platycodon, a little too tall for its own good, flopping over, but still very pretty. And coming around here, the hibiscus are just getting ready to explode. And here's one that has already started blooming, a very nice pink. Hardy hibiscus are undervalued in my opinion. There's so many nice varieties, and we have a great inventory right now in the store. I will say that the store inventory does look really, really good right now, but I just thought we should not miss this opportunity. Here is a Musabashu. This is the hardy Japanese mountain banana. So these ones were a little late to come up. I'm going to show you more later. Asclepias, this is swamp milkweed, just growing here in pure gravel. Hopefully we get some monarch caterpillars on that. One of the real reasons I wanted to do this video was to capture the daylilies before they're done. Daylilies are in peak here right now, and there are so many amazing varieties. Fortunately, the sun is not in my favor in this location, but this is our side, kind of our border bed in the parking lot. Nice hydrangeas. This Caryopteris got way bigger than I anticipated, as sometimes happens in gardening, but it'll be covered in blue flowers here anytime. This gold foliage with blue flowers, and the bees love that plant. Just a quick zoom through this garden. A lot of poppies here, and they came back on their own. Here's a red Cheyenne spirit coneflower. One of the best coneflowers you can grow. And nice daylilies. Let's go check out another garden. So here we are at the open sign, and this little sign bed has gotten pretty out of control, but there's some great plants to look at here. Here's Kellerho. This is wine cups, and that is a really hardy plant. And then one of my favorites right now, I wish it was 1 or 2 days later, the Allium Millennium. This is an ornamental onion. This thing is just stunning in the landscape when it finally pops. It's a really nice purple. Here is Agastache. You can see it's a good sized plant, covered in flowers, great for pollinators, native. Then moving around here to the schoolhouse flower beds, some very nice milkweed and coneflowers. And the Daylily collection is pretty dense up here. There's so many nice varieties. It's Agave Americana variegata in the ground, in a pot. And very nice daylilies enjoying the morning sun here. There are several varieties. Here we have Tradescantia, a couple of different colors. You can see that's a great plant for the morning pollinators. And just some really incredible daylilies through here too. And they go pretty far back. The container gardens here are really filling in. Here's Canary Wings with its electric yellow-green foliage, and nice coleus from the spring. The hostas are all blooming. Here's a really nice finished container as well. Here we have a really nice tall daylily, very tall, over 5 feet. And more beautiful plants in this perimeter bed. This tall garden lily here has been here since before us, and I'm not sure of the variety, but the fragrance is amazing. Asiatic lilies and hybrids are, I don't know, I think they're collection worthy. I've probably planted 5 so far this year. I need more. And more daylilies through here. Really nice little pink one. And over here, don't want to miss these. This is an amazing plant. So Aurelia Sun King. And then we have Clematis jackmani. And The two were beautiful together. The clematis is about done, but what an amazing plant that Sun King is. It's an herbaceous perennial, but it's big, probably. That one on the corner there is probably 4 feet tall. And these beds aren't perfect, but it's kind of what gardening is. There's a huge daylily here. Just a nice collection of hostas, really starting to flower well. Some small ornamental trees I've been plugging in through the years. We've been here for 5.5 years. And I'm just starting to see some of the stuff that I've planted heavily really start to take some size. Here's a cool little gold variegated taxus. Hydrangeas are looking amazing. So here we're nearing my side of the property here at Groovy Plants Ranch. So we're going to see my gardens. It's Rosa Sharon, against all odds, blooming heavily in dense shade. That's a testament to plants finding their own way. You can see we have this nice border of hostas here, ginkgo. I've been plugging in a lot of smaller woody plants recently. I'll show you a couple of my favorite perennials on the property here. This plant is just incredible. This is Darmeera Peltata. If you look at my hand, I mean, these leaves are huge. Love this. It's a dense shade-loving plant. It needs to have moist soil, never drying out too much. A nice big stand of sensitive fern. Then through here, it's kind of the entry to our home. We put in this bamboo fence. It was actually cheaper than privacy fence. Because we put in so much, so we boxed in the whole property for dogs and kids and so forth. We have 2 little girls. So I've been adding a lot of Japanese maples. Here we have, this is a brand new planting, Japanese forest grass, giving everything a little bit of room. A sensitive fern as well. Bouncing around the hemlocks are really getting size to them. And here's another one of my favorite large shade perennials. This is Rogersia pinnata. And nice hostas. There's a big Aurelia racemosa. This is a native Aurelia, huge plant. You can see here I'm adding stuff. I'm still adding plants. So I'm going to be adding some heuchera here, a little tight, but I want it to be full. And I'm adding a lot in here as well. So here is one of my pride and joy plants. It's this summer chocolate mimosa. Albizia julibrisson, summer chocolate. Marginally hardy, zone 7, and that's 4 years in the ground and really getting some size to it. Here's a great little bed I put in this year. These were trial plants. Some of these were trial plants. So they were free, they didn't have tags, and I figured I would try them out in my own garden. Specifically the petunias. And I think they're great. They're small flowers, so they don't get beaten up by the rain as much as some of the others. And behind it, we have black and bloom salvia. That's an improved black and blue salvia. And every evening when I walk by here, I think it's probably the same hummingbird is hitting on those flowers. And in the back you can see more Musa bashu. These were planted just this year, and they were probably 6 inches tall when we started them, and now they're looking great. So those will be my show bananas next year, so I can show people that you can grow bananas in the ground over winter, and you'll see more of those here as we go into my backyard. Here's a planter I've gotten a lot of comments on, an unlikely container. Trying to get good light for you here. The purslane has not opened up yet. That's the little closed flowers, but this is an agave with coleus. And I think this is Coleus curry up. they're both very happy. While we're here, just because we're doing my personal tour, I'm very into vintage things. If you've ever been here, you know that. You've seen all the cars. And here's our latest project. This is a 1960 El Camino. And as you can see, I have my work cut out for me. There's currently no bed. So this one's gonna take a little while to really work through. But I love old things and keeping them alive, so I'm having a lot of fun with this El Camino. So here we are at my home, and this is our beautiful weeping larch, and a container I did earlier this spring, which has pretty much become 2 plants. I had a little antenna in there, and it's been fully eaten by the purple and bloom salvia, and even the Petunia bubblegum is kind of getting eaten by this salvia. And I'll take you through my little collection of plants here. Here's all trial plants that I threw together in one combo. So I don't have all the names on them right now, but nice lantana and just a bunch of stuff mixed together. This Midnight Gold Petunia is one of my favorites from this year. It's been so inundated with rain, it's not looking its best right now, but very cool plant. Bunch of conifers, ginkgo, and then different collections of my cacti and agaves, a lot of agaves. I grew that one from seed right there. And a bunch of these Rebutia tiny cacti are from my friend Bill. Just things I've been collecting through the years. It's kind of a weedy mess. Love this Agave Perii. Look at that. With the ornamental pineapples in the background. And this is just kind of how I do it every year. I put these signs up because if I didn't, people would take my plants. This giant aloe here I grew from seed, and that one back there as well, that crazy 2-trunk one. That's Kumara. It used to be aloe, now it's Kumara plicatilus. There's a Piloserius azureus in the back. Agave Joe Hoke, a really beautiful selection. And these Rudbeckia just come up on their own, all these Black-Eyed Susan. They're seeders, they seed everywhere. I'm okay with them to a degree. Same with the hyssop. And the lamb's ear, I just control them. I yank them out when they start to cover my cacti or whatever it is. They could use thinning now. Here's a little Joshua tree I grew from seed. The Park Service at Joshua Tree sells seed. So when Liz and I were on our honeymoon, we bought some seed and I grew a handful and gave most of them away, but kept one. So let's go through the garden arbor and see the gardens back here. So this is all new planting through here. There's Floxy patrolling the front yard. Hi, Floxy. You're a good girl. But new beds, well, not new beds, but a lot of new planting I'm finally filling in, and I've been collecting a lot of Japanese maples lately. That's Dragon Master. So here we are in the side bed, and here's a normal mimosa getting quite tall, probably 12 feet now. And a lot of these plants are young. Some have just been planted in the past few days. Different Japanese maples. Here's our front yard. This is Emmett's Pumpkin Japanese maple, planted about 3 years ago, really looking nice. And a variety of ferns and hostas. Oak leaf hydrangeas, the big plant in the back. And here, large weeping hemlock. And because I have dogs, most of the ferns are smashed. Nice Japanese maple here. Coming around the side bed here, you'll see this is very much a family business with toys laying in the garden, but I'm excited about my hardy elephant ears. I hope I got these in the ground early enough. I'm gonna mulch them heavy this year to get to preserve them as much as possible, but really the star of this garden, Musabashu. This plant is probably 13 to 14 feet tall. You can see my house in the background. And absolutely massive bananas. So you can grow hardy bananas in the ground, and those are available in the spring. So we're sold out for the season. And as we move through, behind these lilies is flamethrower redbud. And here, this lily is probably 5 feet tall. Just amazing. New plantings around the ground, on the ground here. This is a fairly new bed. It's been extended. I keep making my beds bigger. And then here, all along my personal greenhouse, more hardy bananas. So kind of boxing in my whole yard with hardy bananas. Here's a tree I picked up about a year ago, and it's growing wonderfully. This will be a shade tree here in the backyard. This is variegated sweetgum, and I just love it. Variegated plants they never get old, and this is a really, really nice specimen. This is from Danaher Nursery. If you want the Japanese maples, you live locally, or any of these funky things, Danaher Nursery in Galena is where you want to go. So I wasn't going to show this part of the garden because this is our personal space. So if you do come, you won't be able to see this, but I feel like I'll just go ahead and show you. I built a playhouse for my girls and figured why not just build a Hobbit house. So here we have our Hobbit house. I know I'm a little eclectic, eccentric, but the Hobbit house is reinforced steel frame that I had left over from a greenhouse project, and yeah, just constructed this, and it's pretty great. The kids love it, and the way Liz and I figure it, when they're grown or when they're too old to play in this, we'll have the cutest garden shed around. So I haven't put the windows in yet, but pretty fun. So that's our garden shed playhouse Hobbit house. The more I thought about it, the more I decided, more I came to the conclusion, why not? It's my space, so why not do it? And picking up from there, more Japanese maples, and then along the back perimeter here, we have some great plants. Purple smoke bush getting some size. And I have nestled in between these are all pollinator perennials through here, like the Senna Hebecarpa right here, great for bees. Mountain mint. But nestled in, I have clumping bamboo that'll get 6 to 8 feet tall, Fargesia rufa nitida. And my idea here is, as this garden matures and ages, some of these smaller perennials will be pushed out by the bamboo, and I'll have this bamboo wall, kind of a bamboo wall along the back here. There's a tricolor beech. That senna right there is really showing off, my goodness. So senna is a native plant. And how cool is that? But that bamboo will then pick up over here with this Japanese maple bamboo in the back, and then transition over to the hardy bananas. So this is my yard. So really quick, back here at the Groovy Bus, just thought I'd show you this amazing dwarf river birch. It's probably not the best view, there's a stump right in front of it, but this river birch was given to me by my friend Clayton, and it's probably 15 years old, and it's all of maybe 10 feet tall, very dense. And as we move back, curly willow. A nice dawn redwood, just getting some size. It's great to see stuff I plant really start getting big. And then this large plant is Philopendula, and it is on its way out of its flowering period, but it was remarkable. 7 feet tall, airy pink blooms. And then this grass, probably my favorite landscape grass. This is Panicum Dallas Blues. And it's right here at the gate to our lower parking. And then this nice big tree here, Ram's Horn Willow. And really getting some good size as well. Over here we have another curly willow. And moving around our lower parking area, this curly willow is really getting big. My makeshift fence out of old trees. And the dappled willow, this is Hakura Nishiki. Very nice plant. And our native sumac here gives this place a really tropical look. And here, our pawpaws, for the first time since us moving here, are finally setting fruit. You can see them up there. So we have 3 nice pawpaws here and then more that I've planted. And of course, this garden is graced by some nice carparts. I don't mind them. And nice big hydrangeas through here. Another pawpaw I planted a few years ago. And here's kind of the coolest plant in this bed, spilt milk pawpaw. Got that from Danaher. Then on the opposite side here of lower parking, some gorgeous daylilies popping, red twig dogwood in the background. This is kind of my screen here from where I park my vehicles for the business, the tractor, etc. Here's a great little tree from Dave Danaher and Leslie. This is PV Minaret, bald cypress. Just getting a little size. And we've had so much rain, the gardens are just out of control. Here's a nice little tree I planted in honor of my first daughter, Lily. This is Tupelo Tower from my friend Bill Hendricks. And that thing will turn fire orange, red, purple, all colors in the fall. And here's a little bed I put in a couple years ago, for a beloved pet Clementine. We called her Tiny, so I made this in honor of her. It's all tiny hostas and small diminutive plants. I do love the tiny hostas. Unfortunately, so do the slugs. But that's just part of gardening. So some cool plants in here, finally getting some size. I tried to give everything some room. Of course, a lot of it's trial and error. It's okay to move things. I'm gonna add some new stuff to this bed probably today. Really trying to I do own a nursery, so my goal is to plant at least something every week. And this bed's really getting some nice size to it. Painted fern, Godzilla. Doesn't really belong in this bed because it's a big one, but will take up some nice size, or nice space. So here's a little side, tiny garden here. This is Polygonatum humile. Given that it is July, some of the plants are starting to look a little ragged, and that's okay. And here, I think this is Color Blaze or Color Blast Coleus. This is a trial that we got this year. I think that'll be a proven winter plant next year. And some heuchera underneath a pine. This is a nice little pine. And Brunera or Brunnera, way underrated plant. I'm falling in love with these more and more every year. They just hold up so great. They're a hosta alternative that really doesn't get that slug damage. And because they have that scratchy leaf, the deer pretty much leave them alone. I fortunately don't have a deer problem here, but definitely a plant to consider if you have a lot of shade. Kind of rounding out our tour, you get to see the weediest place on the property. This is our pond. This was here when we bought the place. But there's canary wings in all of its glory. Gets kissed by a little bit of afternoon sun, and it picks up its best color. Could get a little more sun and it would be more colorful. And through here I have papyrus in an elevated planter. We have some Saracenia in our little floating planters. Those are really nice. We sell them. Here's a nice old clump of Saracenia pitcher plants. And this is just our little pond. I don't think the fish are gonna show for us. But I surround the pond with my specimen plants or my stock plants that we use for propagation. So you can see a lot of begonias back here. I love my begonias. Connie Boswell is just a showstopper. That's Connie right there. And a big Amorphophallus, the corpse flower. It's just kind of a disaster of foliage. A lot of things I just can't bear to get rid of because then I won't have them anymore. And if I want to propagate them in the future, even if I'm not making them readily, I'd be ashamed to lose them. And a passion vine going clean up this pole I put in. And down here, more wild foliage. Here's a variegated maidenhair fern we found this spring. Basket grass looking great. Gotta love begonias. These have all been out in this crazy rain and everything's happy. See some plants we've been cutting on. Here's a great little begonia bonsai. We're gonna take cuttings on this pretty soon, so we'll be selling this plant. This is Richardsiana. So you can grow a bonsai begonia. This is an old plant too, probably 3 or 4 years old. Got our citronella here with our double impatiens. And moving around, some coleus, a lot of bromeliads back here. I've been collecting them, and again, I can't bear to get rid of any of them. I need to thin my collection down. Nice large Euphorbia mac. This is a great impatiens, balsamia, balsam impatient. So this thing will self-seed. I have it in containers, but if it was in the ground, it would self-seed and you'd have it for years. We sell that plant. We have it right now. And Red Fred, just an incredible begonia. We have these in inventory right now as well. Some Ripsalis. And here's my rare collection. I probably shouldn't show this at all, but you can see some really nice stuff through here. My golden Warwitzii, and my gigantic albo. Variegated bananas. The squamifera is pushing bud. My favorite ficus of all time, Maclelandii variegata. Connie Boswell, for being a cheap, not so rare plant. That plant looks like $1 million. Variegated ZZ. Just love my begonias. And here, wrapping this up, Begonia caroliniae. I love that. Huge leaves. This is a little container I do to hide my air conditioner, and that papyrus really does the trick. And Connie Boswell right here in the middle of all of this, just really showing off. It's a nice plant. And one quick trip through here. This is a bench where we hold a bunch of our stock and things that we're growing on. And these plants love being outside in the summer. If you can safely have them out and not have them stolen, your house plants will thank you for it. Love golden crocodile. And we chop on this stuff, so it's not always the nicest looking. It really is a mess of plants. Here our fig tree is setting fruit with more coming on. So we'll have figs growing for quite a while. So since we're already doing this, just take you on a quick tour of our back greenhouses. This is where we maintain a bunch of our stock. And it's pretty neat and tidy, if I must say so myself. Here are a bunch of Aloe Hybrids that we actually did. That's a real pretty one right there. Love this white one. And we do actively hybridize, and we're doing more and more of it. Back here, Emma Donnelly is doing all of our crossing. I've been doing pink tags, so I know what mine are. But she is a professional. She has her master's in plant breeding from Texas A&M. This is just a small portion of what we do, more of a hobby side project, but we're doing more and more of it. A lot of nice stock plants back here, and we finally have, with things slowing down a little bit in the store, finally have time to really dig into our coolest plants. A lot of nice Ripsalis. Here's a cool plant. This is parachute plant, Cerapedia. Look at the flower. Oh, there I go, breaking it. A very funky flower. Of course, the camera doesn't want to focus. So this is one of our stock houses here. So there you have it. That's the tour of the gardens at Groovy Plants Ranch. And yeah, this is, I think, more for me than anybody else, so I can look back on how things have grown. But thanks for watching with me. We'll do it again next year. Maybe we'll do a fall walk and see how things have progressed. I don't actually expect anybody to watch 40 minutes of me walking around, but I had fun looking at all my plants and sharing what we do and what my passion is. I mean, I love gardening. That's why I got into this business. So anyway, thanks for watching with me. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you soon.